Admiral Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the Defiance, staring at the stars beyond the viewport. The ship hummed with quiet efficiency around him. His crew worked at their stations, monitoring sensors and running diagnostics. It was supposed to be a routine patrol near Mars orbit. Nothing about the next few minutes would be routine. The communications officer, Lieutenant Sophie Anderson, looked up from her console. Her face had gone pale. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission. It's on every frequency. Every single one." Daniel walked to her station. "Source? Unknown, sir." "Wait." She pressed her earpiece closer. "It's identifying itself as the Galactic Council." The bridge went silent. Every person stopped what they were doing. The Galactic Council was the governing body of 12 alien species that controlled most of known space. Earth had been aware of their existence for only 5 years. Relations had been distant but peaceful. "Put it on screen," Daniel said. The main viewport shimmered and changed. A massive reptilian creature appeared, scales gleaming under harsh white light. Its eyes were cold and yellow. Behind it stood representatives of other alien species, each more bizarre than the last. The reptilian spoke, and a translator converted its hissing sounds into flat, emotionless English. "I am Grand Arbiter Zex Thor of the Galactic Council. This message is directed to the planet Earth and all humans within the Sol system. After careful study and deliberation, the Council has reached a unanimous decision. Humanity is classified as a pre-sentient species. You lack the qualities necessary for full membership in galactic civilization. Therefore, the Council decrees that all humans will be placed under contract labor. You will serve the needs of superior species until such time as you prove capable of higher thought." Daniel felt his blood turn to ice. Around him, crew members gasped. Someone cursed quietly. The alien continued. "You have 72 hours to surrender peacefully. Prepare your population centers for processing. Resistance will be met with orbital bombardment. Comply, and your species will be preserved as workers. Refuse, and you will be eliminated. This is not negotiable. This is law." The transmission ended. The viewport returned to showing stars. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Sophie's console started beeping. "Sir, the same message is broadcasting on Earth. Every television, every radio, every screen. They're showing it to everyone." Daniel grabbed the edge of the console. His knuckles turned white. "Slaves. The Council wanted to make humanity into slaves." Rage burned in his chest. But years of military discipline kept his voice steady. "Get me President Carter. Now." Within minutes, Daniel was in a secure video conference with Earth's leadership. President Linda Carter looked shaken but determined. Around her sat generals, admirals, and intelligence chiefs. Daniel recognized General Marcus Cole, a man he'd served with for 20 years. "Options," Linda said without preamble. The general pulled up a holographic display. Red markers surrounded the solar system. "Not good, Madam President. Our deep space reconnaissance detected these fleets moving into position 2 days ago. We didn't know what they were doing. Now we do. They're boxing us in. 12 battle groups, each one bigger than our entire defense fleet." "Can we fight them?" Linda asked. Marcus hesitated. "In a straight battle? No. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." But what? We've been running black projects, secret programs, things the Council doesn't know about." Marcus looked directly at the camera. "Admiral Hayes knows what I'm talking about." Daniel nodded. "Project Olympus, the hidden fleet, the new weapons." Linda leaned forward. "Explain." 5 years ago, when we first made contact with the Council, some of us didn't trust them," Daniel said. "We started building ships in secret, on the far side of the moon, in the asteroid belt, deep underground on Mars. We reverse-engineered every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on. We combined it with human innovation. The Council thinks we have 50 ships. We have 500. A woman Daniel didn't recognize spoke up. She wore civilian clothes but had the sharp eyes of an intelligence officer. "I'm Claire Bennett, NSA. I've been monitoring Council communications. They're not taking us seriously. They see this as a minor operation. They've sent just enough force to intimidate us, not to fight a real war. They're arrogant. Good, Linda said. Arrogance is a weakness we can exploit. What about their deadline? 72 hours, Marcus said. That gives us time to mobilize. But Madam President, I need to be clear. If we fight this, there's no going back. We're talking about war with the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Linda looked at each person on the screen. Let me ask you all something. What's the alternative? We surrender? We let them take our children and put them in chains? We accept slavery because we're afraid? Silence answered her. I need to address the public, Linda continued. But first, I need to know we're committed. Are we doing this? Daniel spoke without hesitation. Yes, Madam President. We fight. One by one, every military leader agreed. The decision was unanimous. While the government prepared, Earth erupted in activity. The Council's message had played everywhere. Every human on the planet had seen it. The reaction wasn't panic. It was fury. In New York, factory worker Jake Morrison gathered his co-workers. You all saw it. They want to make us slaves. Well, I say we make them regret it. This factory builds cars. Starting tomorrow, we build weapons. Who's with me? Every hand went up. In Los Angeles, engineer Amy Chen contacted every aerospace company she knew. Retool the production lines. We need fighters, not commercial craft. I don't care about profit margins. We're going to war. Across Earth, the response was the same. Humanity unified in a way it never had before. Old enemies became allies. Every resource turned toward one goal: survival through victory. In a secret facility beneath the lunar surface, Captain Stephen Walsh powered up the Vengeance. The experimental warship had been built over 3 years using stolen Council technology and human ingenuity. Its weapons systems were unlike anything the Council had seen. Walsh ran his hand along the command chair. Time to show them what humans can do. In a laboratory on Mars, Dr. Helen Rogers activated the final sequence for Project Olympus. Banks of computers hummed to life. Weapons that the Council would never expect began their startup procedures. Helen smiled grimly. They think we're primitives. They're about to learn otherwise. The 72 hours ticked down. Across Earth's networks, people shared messages of defiance. Veterans came out of retirement. Civilians volunteered for military service in numbers that overwhelmed recruitment centers. Parents held their children close and promised they would never be slaves. On the bridge of the Defiance, Daniel watched the countdown timer. 60 seconds remained. Around him, his crew sat ready at their stations. Beyond the ship, hundreds of other vessels hung in space. The hidden fleet, revealed at last. Open a channel, Daniel ordered. All frequencies. I want the Council to hear this. Sophie nodded. Channel open, sir. Daniel stood straight, shoulders back, and spoke clearly. Grand Arbiter Zex Thor and members of the Galactic Council. This is Admiral Daniel Hayes of Earth. We have received your declaration. Here is our response. We reject your claim. We reject your authority. We will never be slaves. If you want humanity, come and take us. But know this. We will make you pay for every inch. We will fight with everything we have. We will show you what it means to threaten our freedom. This is our declaration. Earth chooses war. He nodded to Sophie. She closed the channel. The countdown reached 0. From the moon, from Mars, from the asteroids, Earth's hidden fleet powered up weapons and engines. 500 ships lit up the darkness. They moved into attack formation, ready to face an enemy that thought them weak. The Council's advance fleet detected the ships, and their commanders laughed. But the laughter didn't last long. The battle for Earth had begun. The Council's advance fleet commander, war leader Kratok, watched his tactical display with growing confusion. The primitive humans had just revealed hundreds of ships. This changed nothing. His fleet was still superior in every way. He had faced rebellious species before. They all died the same. All vessels, engage at will, Kratok ordered. Destroy them quickly. His battle cruisers moved forward, energy weapons charging. The first salvo would vaporize dozens of human ships. Then it would be over. He would collect his reward and move on to the next assignment. But the humans didn't wait to be fired upon. Lieutenant Commander Beth Taylor gripped her fighter's controls as her squadron streaked toward the Council ships. Behind her flew 20 more fighters, each one packed with weapons the Council had never seen. All wings, arm kinetics. Target their lead cruiser. Fire on my mark. Her targeting computer locked onto the massive alien vessel. It was 3 times the size of any human ship. Its shields glowed with protective energy. Council commanders thought those shields made them invincible. They were wrong. Mark, Beth said calmly. 20 railguns fired simultaneously. Solid metal slugs, accelerated to impossible speeds, crossed the distance in seconds. They didn't carry explosives. They didn't need to. Pure kinetic energy punched through the Council ship's shields, like they weren't there. Metal tore through armor plating, through bulkheads, through vital systems. The cruiser shuddered. Internal explosions rippled through its hull. In less than 10 seconds, it broke apart in a ball of fire and debris. Kratok stared at his display in shock. What just happened? His tactical officer's voice shook. Unknown weapons, sir. They bypassed our shields completely. That's impossible. Telling them that, sir. Beth's squadron didn't slow down. They swept past the dying cruiser and engaged the next target. Nuclear-pumped lasers cut through enemy shields. Missiles tracked faster than Council point defense systems could react. Each human fighter carried enough firepower to kill ships 10 times their size. One of Beth's pilots, Lieutenant Kevin Brooks, whooped over the comm. Target destroyed. These things don't know what hit them. Stay focused, Beth ordered. Next target. Dead ahead. From his command ship, Admiral Daniel Hayes watched the battle unfold. The Council fleet was reacting now. Returning fire. Human ships died in flashes of light. But for every human ship destroyed, 3 Council vessels burned. Sir, stealth units report ready, his tactical officer said. Execute, Daniel replied. In the darkness between Mars and the asteroid belt, Captain Gregory Palmer waited on the bridge of the Shadow. His ship was invisible to Council sensors. While the Council designed their vessels for power and efficiency, humans had learned from submarine warfare. They knew how to hide. Target acquired, his weapons officer reported. Gregory smiled without humor. Fire. Torpedoes launched from Shadow's tubes. They ran silent and cold until the last moment. Then their drives ignited. The Council frigate's alarms screamed too late. Explosions tore through its engine section. The ship went dark and began drifting. Target 2 locked, the weapons officer said. Fire. Shadow killed 3 Council ships before they even knew a predator was among them. Gregory ordered his ship deeper into the asteroid belt. There were more targets waiting. On the Council flagship, Grand Arbiter Zexthor received reports of the battle. What should have been a simple slaughter had become a disaster. Human ships fought with tactics and weapons that made no sense. They ignored honor and rules of engagement. They attacked like animals, not civilized beings. Order the fleet to fall back and regroup, Zexthor commanded. We will surround them and destroy them with concentrated fire. But the humans didn't let them regroup. Admiral Hayes pressed the attack, denying the Council time to adapt. His ships moved in coordinated patterns, hitting weak points and exploiting confusion. Commander Julia Foster commanded the Retribution, a heavy cruiser that had taken severe damage. Half her crew was dead. Her engines were failing. Council ships moved to finish her off. Julia looked at her remaining crew. 30 people, against a ship carrying thousands. Abandon ship, she ordered. Get to the escape pods. Her executive officer, a young man named Paul Dixon, shook his head. What about you, Commander? I'm staying. This ship still has one more fight in it. Julia pulled up the navigation controls. That battleship ahead. I'm going to make sure it doesn't hurt anyone else. Paul understood. It's been an honor, ma'am. Go. That's an order. The crew evacuated. Julia waited until the last pod had launched. Then she locked the controls and set the engines to full power. The Retribution accelerated toward the Council battleship. Faster and faster. The enemy fired everything they had at her. Explosions tore through the ship, but Julia had already set the course. Nothing could stop it now. The Retribution struck the battleship at a significant fraction of light speed. The impact released more energy than a nuclear weapon. Both ships vanished in a flash of white light. The shockwave destroyed 2 nearby Council frigates. Daniel watched from the Defiance and closed his eyes briefly. Julia Foster just won us this battle. Make sure everyone knows her name. Across the solar system, the fight continued. But something had changed. The Council fleet, so confident an hour ago, now fought desperately. Their crews had never faced an enemy like this. Humans didn't retreat when damaged. They became more dangerous. They sacrificed themselves to kill enemies. They used tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. In a secure facility on Earth, Dr. Helen Rogers monitored the battle through multiple feeds. Her moment was coming. The Council fleet was spreading out, trying to avoid human weapons. That made them vulnerable to what she had prepared. Project Olympus is ready, she told General Marcus Cole over a secure line. Give the word. Marcus checked the tactical situation. Council ships were scattered across the inner solar system. Perfect. Execute Project Olympus. Helen activated the weapon arrays. Satellites hidden throughout the solar system powered up. Each one contained a directed electromagnetic pulse generator. Humanity had learned from studying Council technology. Alien ships relied completely on computers and automation. That was their strength. It was also their weakness. The satellites fired. Invisible pulses of electromagnetic energy washed over Council vessels. Shields flickered and died. Computers crashed. Life support failed. Weapons went offline. Ships that had been deadly combat platforms became floating coffins in seconds. On one Council destroyer, the crew panicked as their systems died. Backup power wouldn't engage. Manual controls didn't work. Everything was fried beyond repair. They drifted helplessly as human ships closed in. Admiral Daniel Hayes saw entire sections of the enemy fleet go dark. All ships. Advance. Target any vessel still showing power signatures. Disable and capture when possible. We need prisoners and intelligence. Human ships swept through the crippled Council fleet like wolves through sheep. Some Council ships surrendered. Others tried to fight with whatever systems still functioned. It didn't matter. The battle was already over. Sergeant Lisa Morgan led her Marine boarding team onto a captured Council ship. They moved through corridors filled with smoke and sparks. Alien crew members cowered or fled. Lisa's team secured the bridge and took the officers prisoner. Search everything, Lisa ordered. Communications, logs, navigation data, tactical information. Strip this ship clean. Her team worked quickly. They had trained for this. Within an hour, they transmitted terabytes of Council data back to Earth intelligence. Every captured ship gave humanity more knowledge about their enemy. Nathan Price commanded the Vanguard fleet as it pushed into the asteroid belt. His orders were clear. Don't give the Council time to recover. Keep hitting them. Keep them off balance. His ships used the asteroids as cover, emerging to strike and then vanishing again. A Council squadron tried to pursue him. They entered the belt and found themselves surrounded. Human ships appeared from behind, rocks and ice. Mines that had been hastily deployed exploded against Council hulls. The squadron died without inflicting a single casualty. 6 hours after the battle began, war leader Kratok admitted defeat. Half his fleet was destroyed or captured. The other half was scattered and running. The humans had won. He couldn't believe it. His flagship's engines were damaged, his shields were down, and human ships were closing in. Surrender, one of his officers suggested. We can. Kratok killed the officer with his sidearm. We do not surrender to prey animals. He turned to his helmsman. Jump to hyperspace. Get us out of here. The flagship's damaged engines engaged. Space twisted around the ship, and it vanished. fleeing deeper into Council territory. A dozen other Council ships followed. Daniel Hayes watched them go. He could have pursued, but his priority was protecting Earth. Let them run. Let them tell their masters what happened here. Let the whole Council know what it costs to threaten humanity. Across the solar system, human crews cheered. They had faced impossible odds and won. But Daniel didn't celebrate. This was just the first battle. The Council wouldn't accept this defeat. They would return with more ships, more weapons, more determination. And when they did, humanity would be waiting. President Linda Carter addressed Earth and the fleet from the White House. Today, we proved something important. We proved that humanity will never accept chains. We proved that our freedom is worth any price. The Council came to enslave us. We sent them running. But this is only the beginning. They will come back. And when they do, we will be ready. We will fight, and we will win. Because we are human, and humans do not kneel. In orbit above Earth, the Defiance hung among the stars. Daniel Hayes looked at his battered fleet. They had won the Battle of Luna, but the war for humanity's freedom had just begun. News of Earth's victory spread through Council space like wildfire. The Council tried to suppress it, but they couldn't control every channel. On a dozen occupied worlds, slaves whispered the impossible story. The humans had won. The species marked for enslavement had destroyed a Council fleet. Hope stirred in places where hope had died long ago. Captain Eric Shaw understood the power of information. His ship, the Messenger, wasn't the biggest or the fastest, but it had the best communications array in the human fleet. He broadcast footage of burning Council ships across every frequency his crew could access. "Make sure everyone sees this," Eric told his communications officer. "Every slave, every conquered world, every species under Council rule, show them that resistance is possible." The footage played across the galaxy. Alien slaves saw Council battleships torn apart by human weapons. They saw the mighty war leader Kratok flee in disgrace. The message was clear. The Council could be beaten. In a secret meeting chamber on the Council homeworld, Grand Arbiter Zex Thor faced the representatives of the 12 species. They were not pleased. One of them, Ambassador Vrenix of the Keltheran Empire, stood and pointed an appendage at Zex Thor. "You assured us this would be a simple operation," Vrenix said. "You told us the humans were primitives. Instead, they destroyed an entire battle fleet. How do you explain this?" Zex Thor's scales rippled with anger. "A temporary setback. We underestimated their military capability. It will not happen again." "You're right about that," another representative said. "Because we're withdrawing our forces. The Keltheran Empire wants no part of this disaster." Two other species immediately agreed. The Council was fracturing. Zex Thor slammed his claws on the table. "If you withdraw, you violate Council law. You will be marked as traitors." "Better a traitor than dead," Vrenix replied. "The humans fight like nothing we've ever seen. They sacrifice themselves without hesitation. They use weapons that shouldn't exist. I will not send my people to die for your pride." The meeting dissolved into arguments. Zex Thor realized he was losing control. He needed a victory, a decisive one, to hold the Council together. He needed to show that humanity could be crushed, and he needed to do it quickly. While the Council argued, humanity expanded its offensive. Admiral Patricia Wells led a fleet of 60 ships toward the Council's blockade line. The Council had surrounded the solar system, trying to trap humanity inside. Patricia planned to break through. "They expect us to be cautious," she told her commanders. "They think we'll probe their defenses and look for weak points. We're not doing that. We're going straight through them." Commander Paul Dixon, who had survived the Retribution's destruction, flew in the vanguard. His fighter squadron screamed toward the Council line at maximum acceleration. G-forces crushed him into his seat. Most aliens would have blacked out. Human pilots had trained for this. "Contact in 30 seconds, Paul said over the comm. "All wings, prepare to engage. Remember, we're not here to fight fair. We're here to win. The Council blockade ships detected the approaching humans and opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space. Paul's squadron weaved and dodged. 3 fighters died in the first salvo. The rest kept coming. They returned fire with missiles and railguns. Council shields held at first, but the sheer volume of fire overwhelmed them. Patricia's capital ships followed right behind the fighters. They used the confusion to punch through the Council line. Her flagship, the Liberty, took heavy damage, but kept moving. Within minutes, human ships were on the other side of the blockade, free in open space. All ships, new heading, Patricia ordered. We're taking the fight to them. Target their supply lines, their communication stations, their forward bases. Make them regret ever hearing about Earth. The breakout stunned the Council commanders. They had expected the humans to stay defensive, to protect their home. Instead, humanity went on the attack. Small human fleets appeared throughout the sector, raiding and destroying Council assets. They hit targets the Council thought were safe and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Back on Earth, intelligence officer Claire Bennett analyzed data from captured Council ships. What she found made her blood run cold. She immediately contacted President Linda Carter. "Madam President, we have a problem. A big one." Linda looked tired. She hadn't slept in 3 days. "What now?" Claire displayed a holographic image. "This is a planet cracker. The Council developed them to destroy rebellious worlds. According to the data we pulled, Grand Arbiter Zex Thor has authorized their use against Earth. 3 of them are en route. They'll be here in 18 hours. Linda felt her heart sink. "Can we stop them? They're heavily shielded and escorted by a full battle group. If even one gets through, it's over. Earth dies." "Earth." Linda stood up. "Get me Admiral Hayes. Now." Daniel Hayes received the warning while his fleet was scattered across the solar system. He had less than a day to gather his forces and stop 3 weapons that could kill their entire world. He didn't hesitate. "All ships, emergency recall. Return to Earth orbit immediately. This is a priority Alpha alert. Move now." Human vessels across the solar system abandoned their positions and raced back to Earth. But many were too far away. They wouldn't make it in time. Daniel did the math. He would have maybe 200 ships to stop the planet crackers and their escorts. The enemy had 400 ships and the ultimate weapons. The odds didn't matter. This was Earth. This was everything. 18 hours later, the Council fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. War leader Kratok had returned with reinforcements and a new mission. The humans had humiliated him. Now he would erase their world from existence. "Deploy the planet crackers," he ordered. "Full escort formation. Nothing gets through." The 3 massive weapons moved toward Earth, surrounded by Council warships. Each planet cracker was the size of a small moon. They would position themselves around Earth and fire simultaneously. The planet's core would destabilize. Within hours, Earth would tear itself apart. Daniel Hayes watched them approach on his tactical display. "We're outnumbered 2-1. But those planet crackers are slow. They need time to position and charge. That's our window." He opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, listen carefully. We cannot let those weapons reach firing position. I don't care what it costs. We stop them here. If that means ramming them with our own ships, so be it. Earth is behind us. Our families are behind us. And I will personally die before I let those things kill our world. Now let's show the Council what human determination looks like." The human fleet charged forward. Council ships moved to intercept. The 2 forces collided in the largest space battle humanity had ever fought. Ships died on both sides. Explosions lit up the darkness. But the humans fought with desperate fury. Colonel Andrew Ross commanded the frigate Determination. His ship was already heavily damaged from previous battles. 1 engine was out. Life support was failing. But when he saw a planet cracker ahead, undefended for just a moment, he made his decision. "All hands, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. That's an order," his crew protested. Andrew cut them off. I'm old, and I've lived a good life. You're all young. You deserve to see Earth survive. Now go. Don't make me waste the time I have left arguing. The crew evacuated. Andrew waited until the last person was off the ship. Then he locked the controls and aimed straight at the planet cracker. His reactor was damaged and unstable. Perfect. He overloaded it deliberately and set the ship to maximum acceleration. For Earth, Andrew said quietly, and for every human who will live because of this. The determination struck the planet cracker at the moment Andrew's reactor went critical. The explosion was visible from Earth. When the light faded, the planet cracker was gone, reduced to debris and radiation. 6 more ships followed Andrew's example. Human captains, knowing their vessels were already doomed, turned themselves into weapons. One by one, the planet crackers died. Not a single one reached firing position. Kratok watched his super weapons destroyed and screamed in rage. Kill them. Kill every human ship. But the human fleet wasn't done. Captain Michelle Turner led a strike force that punched through the Council escort. Her target wasn't the planet crackers anymore. It was Kratok's flagship. If she could kill the war leader, the Council fleet would lose its command structure. Michelle's ship, the Avenger, took hits from a dozen directions. Her shields failed. Fires broke out on 3 decks. But she kept flying, kept firing. Her weapons tore into the Council flagship's armor. She got close enough to launch boarding pods. Sergeant Frank Butler led the 1st Marine team onto the Council flagship. They fought through corridors filled with enemy soldiers. Frank's team was outnumbered 20-1. They didn't care. They had explosives and a target. Plant charges on the reactor core, Frank ordered. We're taking this ship down. His Marines fought like demons. They held off waves of Council soldiers while placing explosives on critical systems. When the charges were set, Frank ordered a retreat. Half his team was dead. The rest ran for the boarding pods. The flagship's reactor exploded as they escaped. The massive ship broke in half and died. Kratok died with it, still screaming orders that nobody could hear. Without their commander, the Council fleet fell apart. Ships fled in all directions. The humans pursued and destroyed everyone they could catch. By the time the battle ended, the Council had lost 70% of their forces. Daniel Hayes surveyed the aftermath. His fleet was in ruins. Of the 200 ships that fought, only 80 remained combat capable. But Earth still lived. The planet crackers were destroyed, and the Council fleet was shattered. We did it, his tactical officer said quietly. Daniel nodded. But he knew this wasn't over. The Council would come again. They had to. Their pride wouldn't allow anything else. And next time, they would bring everything they had. Humanity needed to strike first. Admiral Daniel Hayes stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, holographic displays showed the entire tactical situation. The Council was regrouping, pulling forces from across their territory. Intelligence suggested they were preparing for one massive assault. If humanity waited for that attack, they would be overwhelmed. We need to hit them first, Daniel said to the assembled commanders. Before they can organize. Before they can bring their full strength to bear. General Marcus Cole pulled up a star chart. Their forward operations center is Kepler Station. It's a fortress. Shields that could take a direct nuclear hit. Weapons platforms that could destroy a fleet. Garrison of 10,000 soldiers. If we can take it out, we cripple their ability to coordinate attacks in this sector. President Linda Carter listened via secure link. What are our chances? Honestly, not good, Marcus replied. But if we don't try, the Council will use that station to launch attacks until we're ground down. We need to take the fight to them. Linda made her decision. Do it. Send our best. Commander Rachel Kim received her orders while her ship was docked at a hidden base on Mars. She was to lead the assault on Kepler Station. Her force would consist of 30 ships, 300 Marines, and a lot of courage. Against a fortress that had never been successfully attacked, Rachel gathered her team leaders. I won't lie to you. This is probably a one-way trip. The station is designed to be invincible, but we're going anyway, because if we don't, the Council will use it to kill Earth. Questions? Nobody spoke. These were volunteers, all of them. They knew what they were signing up for. Good, Rachel said. We leave in 6 hours. Spend it however you want. Call your families. Write letters. Make peace with whatever God you believe in. Because when we hit Kepler Station, all hell comes with us. The human fleet approached Kepler Station using an unconventional route. Instead of coming from open space, they hid in an asteroid field on the edge of the system and waited. Rachel's plan relied on surprise and brutality. The Council expected attacks to follow rules. Humanity was done following rules. Accelerate the rocks, Rachel ordered. Human engineers had spent the last 3 days attaching engines to the largest asteroids they could find. Now those engines fired, pushing massive chunks of stone and iron toward Kepler Station at increasing speeds. The station's sensors detected them. But asteroids weren't unusual in this area. The Council defenders ignored them as natural hazards, right up until the asteroid struck. The first impact shattered against Kepler Station's shields. But there were dozens more behind it, each one weighing millions of tons and moving at impossible velocities. Shield generators overloaded, trying to stop them. 3 generators exploded. A section of the station's shield grid collapsed. Now, Rachel said calmly, human ships emerged from the asteroid field at full burn. They poured through the gap in the shields, launching missiles and firing railguns. Kepler Station's weapons platforms came online, returning fire, space filled with explosions and debris. Rachel's ship took a direct hit that killed 12 crew members. She didn't slow down. Boarding teams, prepare for launch. We're going in hot. Sergeant Frank Butler loaded his rifle and checked his armor seals. Around him, 200 Marines did the same. They were about to board a station designed to resist boarders, defended by soldiers who outnumbered them 50-1. Frank had been in bad situations before, but this topped them all. Listen up, he told his team. The Council thinks they're superior. They think they're better soldiers. Let's teach them what human Marines can do. The boarding pods launched from multiple ships simultaneously. Council point defense systems shot down half of them. The rest slammed into Kepler Station's hull and burned through the armor. Hatches blew open, and Marines poured inside. Frank led his squad into a corridor filled with smoke and alarms. Council soldiers appeared, firing energy weapons. Frank's team returned fire with old-fashioned bullets. Turns out armor designed to stop energy beams didn't work so well against high-velocity lead. Move forward, Frank ordered. We need to reach the command center. They fought through level after level. Council soldiers had superior numbers and knew the station layout. But humans had combat experience that came from thousands of years of fighting each other. They used tactics the Council had never seen. They set ambushes. They used explosives in creative ways. They turned the station's own systems against the defenders. Major Olivia Grant led another team through the lower levels. Her objective was the station's power core. If she could take it offline, the entire station would go dark. But as she advanced, she found something unexpected. Sir, you need to see this, one of her soldiers said. Olivia entered a massive chamber and stopped. Rows of cells stretched as far as she could see. Inside those cells were aliens. Not Council species. Different ones. They looked malnourished and scared. This was a slave pen. Oh God, Olivia whispered. They're not just enslaving us. They've done this to others. She opened a channel to Rachel. Commander, we found prisoners. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They're slaves from other species. Rachel's voice came back tense. She was clearly in combat. Can you free them? Yes, but it'll slow us down. Do it anyway. We're not leaving anyone in chains. Olivia and her team went to work on the cell locks. As the doors opened, alien prisoners emerged cautiously. They didn't understand what was happening. Why were these new soldiers freeing them instead of hurting them? Olivia's translator unit struggled with the various languages, but she managed to communicate the basics. We're human. We're here to fight the council. You're free now. Stay behind us and we'll get you out. One of the aliens, a being with blue skin and 4 arms, stepped forward. Through the translator, it said, "You fight the council? You destroy their station? That's the plan. Then we help. We know this place. We know weak points. We will guide you." The freed slaves became guides and allies. They showed the Marines routes the council didn't expect. They pointed out vulnerable systems. What had been a nearly impossible assault became merely very difficult. Meanwhile, in the command center, the council's station commander watched his defenses crumble. Human soldiers were everywhere. They fought with a ferocity that terrified his troops, and now freed slaves were helping them. He sent a desperate message to the council homeworld. Kepler Station is falling. The humans are too strong. We need immediate reinforcements, or a railgun round punched through the command center's armored window. The commander died mid-sentence. Frank Butler and his team stormed into the command center moments later. They secured the room and planted explosive charges on all the computer systems. Rachel had been clear. Take everything useful, destroy everything else. Downloading their databases now. One of Frank's tech specialists said, "Navigation charts, fleet positions, communication codes. We're getting everything." Outside the station, the space battle continued. Human ships traded fire with council reinforcements that were arriving. Rachel knew they were running out of time. "All teams, we need to move. Extraction in 10 minutes. Olivia led a stream of freed slaves toward the boarding pods. There were too many to fit in the pods designed for Marines. She made a decision. "Load the prisoners first. We'll squeeze in where we can. If there's not enough room, we'll take council ships." They commandeered every small craft they could find. Shuttles, escape pods, maintenance vehicles. Anything that could fly got packed with freed slaves. Olivia made sure every prisoner was aboard something before she took a seat herself. Frank's team was the last to leave the command center. They had set the station's reactor to overload. In 30 minutes, Kepler Station would destroy itself from the inside. Frank took one last look at the council fortress, then climbed into his boarding pod. Extraction complete. Get us out of here. The human fleet pulled back, carrying hundreds of freed slaves. Behind them, Kepler Station's systems began to fail. The reactor's safety systems screamed warnings that nobody was left to hear. The overload reached critical mass. Kepler Station exploded in a flash that could be seen from 3 systems away. The Council's primary forward base, their symbol of power in the sector, was gone, turned into an expanding cloud of debris and radiation. Aboard Rachel's ship, the freed slaves watched through viewports as their prison died. Many of them cried. Others cheered. All of them looked at their human rescuers with something new in their eyes. Hope. One of the 4 armed aliens approached Rachel. "Why did you save us? We are not your people." Rachel looked at the alien and spoke honestly. "Because the Council wants to make everyone slaves. If we only fought for ourselves, we'd be no better than them. Freedom isn't just for humans, it's for everyone." The alien touched Rachel's shoulder. A gesture of respect in its culture. "Then we will fight with you. Against the Council. Against all who would enslave others." Word of Kepler Station's fall spread through Council space even faster than news of Earth's initial victory. The Council had thought the station was invincible. Humanity had destroyed it in less than a day. More importantly, the freed slaves talked. They told everyone what they had seen. Human warriors, who fought not for conquest, but for freedom, who risked their lives to free people they had never met. On dozens of worlds, slaves looked at their masters with new eyes. If the humans could do it, maybe they could too. Rebellion stirred in places the Council had controlled for centuries. Grand Arbiter Zex Thor received the news in his chambers. His advisors stood silent, afraid to speak. He had promised a quick victory over primitive humans. Instead, those primitives had shattered 2 fleets, destroyed planet crackers, killed war leader Kratok, and obliterated Kepler Station. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked quietly. "In this sector?" Less than 300. Grand Arbiter. The humans have. They have defeated us. Zexthor's claws dug into his desk. Unacceptable. Gather every available ship, every soldier, every weapon. We will crush Earth if it takes our entire military. But even as he gave the order, Zexthor knew the truth. The Council was fracturing. 3 species had already withdrawn their fleets. Others were considering it. And somewhere in deep space, human ships hunted Council vessels like predators stalking prey. For the first time in his life, Grand Arbiter Zexthor felt something he had never experienced before: fear. The Council's fortress world of Draknor had stood for 1,000 years. Its defenses were legendary. Weapons, platforms orbited the planet in layers, shield generators powerful enough to protect entire continents. A garrison of 100,000 soldiers. Grand Arbiter Zexthor had retreated there with what remained of his loyal forces. He believed the fortress made him untouchable. He was wrong. Admiral Daniel Hayes studied the tactical display aboard the Defiance. Earth's fleet had grown since the war began. Ships that had been under construction were rushed to completion. Civilian vessels were armed and armored, and the freed slaves from Kepler Station had brought their own ships to join the fight. Humanity now commanded a combined fleet of over 700 vessels. We hit them with everything. Daniel told his commanders. No holding back. No mercy for those who would enslave others. The Council ends today. President Linda Carter addressed the fleet before the battle. Her face appeared on every screen, in every ship. People of Earth and our allies, we stand at the edge of history. The Galactic Council thought they could chain us. They thought we were weak. They learned otherwise. Today, we finish what they started. Today, we show the galaxy that freedom is not negotiable. Fight well, fight hard, and come home victorious. The combined fleet jumped to hyperspace. When they emerged near Draknor, the Council forces were waiting. Grand Arbiter Zexthor had assembled 300 ships for a final stand. It should have been enough. It wasn't. The battle began with a massive human missile barrage. Thousands of warheads streaked toward the Council fleet. Their point defense systems shot down most of them. But not all. Explosions rippled through their formation. Then the human ships charged in behind the missiles, weapons blazing. Captain Tyler Scott commanded a hunter-killer squadron that specialized in tracking down fleeing enemies. His ships had been searching for war leader Krotok's personal flagship for weeks before learning it had been destroyed. Now Tyler focused on a new target. Any Council ship that tried to run. No one escapes, Tyler ordered. If they turn away from the fight, they're ours. His squadron caught a Council destroyer trying to flee. They disabled its engines and forced it to surrender. Tyler's Marines boarded and took the crew prisoner. Every captured enemy meant more intelligence, more leverage in the war. The space battle raged for hours. Both sides took heavy losses. But the human and allied forces had something the Council didn't. Motivation. They were fighting for their freedom and the freedom of others. The Council soldiers were fighting because they were ordered to. The difference showed. On Draknor's surface, Grand Arbiter Zexthor watched his fleet die. Ship after ship went dark or exploded. The humans fought with tactics that made no sense. They sacrificed individual ships to destroy larger vessels. They used the planet's own orbital defenses against his ships. And the freed slaves fought with a hatred that came from centuries of oppression. Launch the ground-based defenses, Zexthor ordered. If we cannot win in space, we will destroy them from the planet. Massive cannons on Draknor's surface opened fire. Beams of energy powerful enough to crack moons lanced into space. They caught human ships and vaporized them. Daniel Hayes lost 20 vessels in the first minute of ground fire. We need to take out those cannons, Daniel said. Get me Captain Laura Mitchell. Laura commanded the assault carrier Liberator. Her ship carried 200 drop pods and 1,000 Marines. She had been waiting for this. We're ready, Admiral. Give us a target. All of them. Every cannon, every defense platform, everything that's shooting at my fleet. Can you do it? Can you do it? Laura smiled grimly. Watch us. The Liberator descended toward Draknor's atmosphere, taking heavy fire. Her shields held just long enough. She launched every drop pod she had. They scattered across the planet's surface, landing near the defense installations. Marines poured out, ready to fight. Major Olivia Grant led the assault on the primary cannon complex. Council soldiers defended it with everything they had. Olivia's team took casualties, but they kept advancing. They had learned from Kepler Station. They moved fast, hit hard, and used the enemy's own advantages against them. Plant charges on the power generators, Olivia ordered. We blow this thing and move to the next target. Her demolitions expert, a young Marine named Billy Chen, ran toward the generators under heavy fire. He took a shot to the leg but kept moving. He placed the charges, set the timer, and limped back to cover. The explosion destroyed the cannon's power supply. The massive weapon went silent. All across Draknor, human Marines disabled defense installations. It was brutal, close-quarters fighting. The Council garrison outnumbered them 10-1, but human soldiers had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of ground combat. They knew how to fight in cities, in bunkers, in tunnels. The Council troops had trained mostly for ceremonial duties and suppressing unarmed civilians. As his defenses fell, Grand Arbiter Zex Thor realized he had lost. His fleet was destroyed. His fortress was being taken apart piece by piece, and human ships now controlled the space above his world. He retreated to his command bunker deep underground and sent one final message to the remaining council members. I have failed. The humans cannot be stopped. They fight like demons. They value freedom more than life itself. Whoever you are listening to this, do not underestimate them again. Surrender while you still can. Then he shut down the transmitter and waited for the humans to come for him. It didn't take long. Sergeant Frank Butler led the team that breached the command bunker. They fought through automated defenses and loyal guards. When they reached Zex Thor's chamber, they found him sitting calmly at his desk. So you have won, the Grand Arbiter said through a translator. Will you kill me now? Frank lowered his weapon slightly. That's not my decision. You're coming back to Earth to stand trial. Trial? For what crime? Attempted enslavement of an entire species, ordering attacks on civilian populations, war crimes. Take your pick. Zex Thor laughed bitterly. You speak of crimes? You destroyed our fleets. You killed thousands of our people. Yeah, Frank replied. Because you tried to make us slaves. You started this. We're finishing it. Now get up. You're under arrest. The capture of Grand Arbiter Zex Thor broke what remained of Council resistance. Within days, the remaining Council species sued for peace. They withdrew their fleets and abandoned their alliance. The 1,000-year-old Galactic Council dissolved in less than a week. President Linda Carter stood before the United Nations and the representatives of freed alien species. Behind her, a holographic display showed the galaxy. Red zones marked former Council territory. Green zones marked systems that had declared independence. Blue marked Earth and its allies. The war is over, Linda announced. The Council is finished. But we must be clear about what comes next. Humanity did not fight this war to become the new masters. We fought for freedom. Not just our freedom, but freedom for all sentient beings. She gestured to the freed aliens in the chamber. These beings suffered under Council rule for generations. Some of their species have been enslaved for longer than human civilization has existed. They deserve justice. They deserve reparations. And they deserve a voice in the new galactic order. Ambassador Trey Harrison, who had escaped Earth before the Council's declaration, stepped forward. We propose the formation of the Assembly of Free Worlds. An alliance based on cooperation, not domination, where every species has equal representation, where slavery is outlawed absolutely, where aggressive conquest is met with collective response. The freed alien species voted unanimously in favor. Earth's proposal became the foundation for a new galactic government, one built on principles of liberty and mutual respect. But Linda was not naive. She knew there would always be threats. So Earth continued building its military. The hidden shipyards on Mars expanded. New weapons were developed, and Admiral Daniel Hayes remained in command of Earth's defense fleet, vigilant against future dangers. The trial of Grand Arbiter Zex Thor took place on Earth, broadcast across the galaxy. He faced charges of crimes against sentience. The evidence was overwhelming. Testimony from freed slaves, records from captured council databases, footage of his orders to deploy planet crackers against Earth. The verdict was guilty on all counts. Zex Thor was sentenced to life imprisonment. He would spend his remaining years in a cell, contemplating the cost of his arrogance. Other council leaders faced similar trials. Not all were convicted. Some had opposed the enslavement decision. Others had tried to minimize casualties. The human courts were harsh but fair. They punished the guilty and released the innocent. On the anniversary of the Council's original declaration, Earth held a memorial service. Names were read aloud for every human who had died in the war. Colonel Andrew Ross, who rammed the planet cracker. Commander Julia Foster, who sacrificed her ship. Thousands more who gave their lives for freedom. Admiral Daniel Hayes stood at the memorial wall, running his hand along the engraved names. President Linda Carter joined him. They stood in silence for a moment. Was it worth it? Linda asked quietly. Daniel considered the question. 17,000 humans dead. 3 million wounded. Earth's economy in ruins. But we're still free. Our children will grow up as free citizens, not slaves. So yes. It was worth every drop of blood. Linda nodded. The council thought we were weak, because we valued individual liberty. They couldn't understand that a free people fight harder than any slave army ever could. In orbit above Earth, the Defiance hung among a fleet of warships. They bore the scars of battle proudly. Each one, a testament to human determination. Across the galaxy, former slaves looked to Earth as a symbol of hope. The species that refused to be chained. The warriors who fought not for conquest but for freedom. Years passed. The assembly of free worlds grew stronger. Trade routes opened between hundreds of species. Scientific knowledge was shared freely. Art and culture flowed between worlds. The galaxy entered an age of cooperation that would have been impossible under Council rule. Earth became known as the Protector World. Other species knew that if tyrants threatened them, humans would come to their aid. Not as conquerors, but as allies. The human military, once built for survival, now served as guardians of freedom throughout known space. On a distant world, a young alien child asked their elder about the war. The elder, who had been freed from Kepler Station, told the story carefully. The Council was powerful. They ruled for 1,000 years. They thought they were invincible. Then they made one mistake. They tried to enslave a species called humans. The humans had a saying, "Give me liberty or give me death." The Council learned what those words meant. What happened? The child asked. The humans declared war. They fought with courage and fury. They sacrificed themselves to protect their freedom. And when they won, they didn't enslave the Council in return. They freed everyone the Council had oppressed. They built a new order based on freedom and justice. That is why we are free today. Because humans believed freedom was worth dying for. The child looked up at the stars. Will the humans always protect us? The elder smiled. As long as tyranny exists, there will be humans willing to fight it. That is their gift to the galaxy. Not conquest. Not domination, but the simple truth that freedom is the right of all sentient beings. And anyone who tries to take that freedom away will face Earth's wrath. Across the galaxy, on Earth itself, Admiral Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of a new flagship. The war was over, but his watch continued. Because he knew the truth. There would always be those who sought power over others. There would always be tyrants who thought they could chain free beings. And as long as such threats existed, humanity would be ready. Not because they loved war, but because they loved freedom more than life itself. The Council had learned that lesson at a terrible cost. Future tyrants would learn it too, if they were foolish enough to challenge humanity's resolve. Earth had spoken. The message echoed across the stars. We will not kneel. We will not break. We will not be slaves. And any who try to make us so will face the wrath of a free people fighting for their survival. That was humanity's promise to the galaxy. And it was a promise they would keep forever.